some another. Just cause you think you know me, don't try to change my mind. Happiness of seeing a newborn, all future that could be dream of. Everything will be judged by our moral life. Don't waste some papers in the hands, great papers that I need to fold. Don't mind if we make a mistake, then don't tell that hell alone. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? Please spread these words forever. Storyteller. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? How can it not matter? The soul we lost one by one. Look around, run around. There's nothing left to smile for. Look around, run around. There's nothing left to cry for. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? Don't ever let it fade out. Storyteller. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? There is no need for sorrow. Great songs will never die. Well, in the day, have a good time. Cool in the night, have a good time. That's what I keep on saying till I lose my mind. Feel like a bird in the sea breeze, shine like a moon in the night sky. Can you believe it till the end of your life? Go eat some ducks into a room. That's enough for satisfaction. Already know how to have fun. No need of explanation. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? Surely that doesn't matter. Storyteller. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? Oh no, it doesn't matter. So we will never lose. That I can never be taller. That she loves of another.
Yellow, yellow. Yellow is the color of the rainbow. What's up, fellas? It's your boy Eli. We're gonna be waiting here for a little bit of time. Oh, what? It's not properly capturing my capture card. You gotta capture the card, Capcom. Give this a second, try to see if we can let it go. What we're gonna do is we're gonna play a little bit of a Squeak Fighter for a little bit while we wait for this thing to start. Then we're gonna just watch it live. Yeah. There we go. This gives me something to do for the next 45, 50 minutes while we wait for this to come through. Hopefully we get something actually lit from this, but who knows. One day I'll have an actual setup going so I could have myself on camera so I could be visible. But my jaw. My other jaw. My jaws. In the interim, we're just vibing. So I've been playing off stream for a bit to try and just understand what the heck is going on, because the game itself and Terry within this game just feels so weird. I've complained about this before, but I kind of just really wish that Street Fighter 6 would go and like give it like a real update. And I don't want it to be like a Street Fighter 5, oh, we patched this and we made some slight changes, or Street Fighter 4 where it's like we've added some characters and like one or two things, but the baseline of the game is still the same. I want like a Street Fighter Alpha style update / overhaul where they really make some fundamental changes to how the game is played, because I kind of think that Street Fighter 6 would be much better as a game if it was designed to play more like CVS 2 or Super Turbo, or basically the older 2D games, namely plus frames on normals, more pushback instead of negative frames. Drive Rush, I would want it so that it would make it so that you don't get pushback when you're like rushing in. Like you get like a good couple of hits where it retains its current level of stickiness, but you have those plus frames. And I think having the pushback and stuff would make it so that there's more of a case for whiff punishing and count whiff punishing. Give it so that like people can, like the characters can walk a little bit faster across the board. They get more pushback from their buttons, obvi. They don't need Drive Rush to connect, because I want there to be a little bit more hit stun when the game, like when characters connect with buttons, so that you have more time to visually confirm button into like special, so that you can choose to not spend the drive and instead elect to go for like an EX move or something. Because right now, how the game is, you can only really confirm after the fact rather than during, as opposed to like CVS 2 or something where you can kind of just visually see if you're doing a thing, or cancel a move on hit or on whiff and it'll be safe, and it could set up properly to its full-on combos and such. Cut your strings short. This game is missing a lot of just regular links in general, which I think would be nice to come back. Like imagine this game had like jab links, but it doesn't have the buffer for it, right? You have to actually manually time linking from jabs into other stuff, but you can still do stuff like crouching light punch into crouching medium punch. And then, the extra pushback, maybe a little less damage across the board for the sake of that, outside of cashing out of supers. Another major thing I want changed for this game that would be just cool. I think the parry stance fundamentally screws up a lot of Street Fighter's gameplay and shouldn't exist. I think parries themselves should be third strike style. A successful parry, make it so that it costs a single bar of meter, right? And then you can still have the parry stance in air and on ground. Check it out. The parry stance does not auto block, but it makes it so that if you parry while in stance, the parry is free. So instead of like costing 1 bar to do the super jumps, to do the regular parries, you instead parry for free. Kind of like using Viper as a baseline for how that could operate for within these scales of this. Now, if you combine all of this, you combine the walk speed, you give the game wake up, throw, and vulnerability, but you increase the damage of throws overall so that not getting the tech is a bigger loss, but you're not looped into offense. You combine all these things and it makes it so that it's not so much of a sticky offensive style game, but rather more of a neutral one. because I believe this game functions at its best in the actual neutral where you guys are trying to joust for stuff and there is no like drive being used. Drive rush kind of makes the neutral too homogenous as opposed to what it can be. And I kind of just miss being able to move around and utilize my character's buttons to their fullest, with everything else being extra rather than everything being required to be based around the drive system as is. And overall, it would be a huge change, right? Which is why I would want something like imagine we start really taking advantage of the seasonal aspects of this game as well, right? We take it so that, let's say that there is a evolving ranked phase for, like, let's say after a character or for one big patch or so, where they have all of these changes and they have versions of characters that are like the evolving versions of characters versus the standard. The standard can have the characters in the game as is right now with none extra system changes, and the evolving versions of the characters can be an addition select style where those changes are applied. Then you could have it so that we have like a player rating on top of the master rating, where every character, the regular and evolving, all has their own separate MR as normal, but the player rating can tell how well people are, or like the skills of the player overall. And from there, we can have it so that you're incentivized to play with the newer features. You have your own added tutorial modes to show the changes. You could test it out in battle hubs for certain events. You can put fighter coins or drive tickets attached to it to give people more incentive to actually experiment with the newer things. Like, even if they don't like it, like if people don't like it, they can go back to playing the regular game just by sticking to like the regular people. And then you could have it so that in matchmaking, you could have your ranked matches have like a regular one or an Evo one, or allow you to match up with people using Evo characters or not. And whatever is like, we give them a lot of feedback. We tell them what's good, what's bad, what needs to be changed, what feels good already, what's enjoyable, etc., etc. And then from there, they can just go ahead and, if the changes are enjoyed well enough, they can become permanent fixtures into the game. On top of making it so that these permanent fixtures are still choice-based, because there are people, like myself included, that do enjoy what Street Fighter 6 currently is. So let's say they do have this newer drive meter and this newer etc. and newer other versions of stuff. You could still have the old versions of the characters as they currently work, as well as the Evo version of characters and how they currently work. And allow it to be like, you know, a kind of edition select. Because, you know, Super Turbo, they had old characters that were part of the meta that used older mechanics, right? So why can't we just do that with the seasonal structure? We are finally in an online era where we can make a Street Fighter Champion Edition and Hyper Fighting be a literal update, but for some reason we just don't have it so that we can access the previous updates and stuff as if we haven't had this in Street Fighter proper before. We've had selectable options for like our base game mechanics too, like with the V system and the Alpha Isms and the Capcom vs SNK2 grooves. We just don't have any of that. This is the same game that it's been since 2023. 3 years later, no Street Fighter has been this much the same 3 years in. Like, no Capcom fighting game period, unless it launched and then died, right? And even then, a lot of those were the final iterations of games that were iterated on before. The only Capcom fighting game I could think of that launched and then that was it was Capcom Fighting Evolution. Street Fighter Cross Tekken had a big old 2012 patch or whatever it was. Ultimate Marvel 3 started with regular Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Marvel Infinite happened, but you know, that's Marvel Infinite. A lot of things went wrong there. Street Fighter 4 had Super, where it added like 10 characters, the extra ultras, ultra combo double, etc., etc. Street Fighter 5 Arcade Edition, the extra V triggers, extra V skills, etc., etc. Street Fighter 6 has none of that, but it's set up in such a way that, especially between the Battle Hub and stuff, that we could really do this. There could be, if you don't want it to be integrated within the main game itself, you could literally make it a Battle Hub special thing, where there's like a Battle Hub personal player ranking where you're testing out the, you know, the newer changes and stuff for the systems. And again, any changes that are like, they don't have to be permanent changes that everyone's forced to. You can make it a selectable thing. You can make it a drive groove system, for example. Like for the thing that I said with the parry, where you don't have a parry stance, you parry and it costs 1 bar of drive, but your stance makes it so that when you parry regularly, it doesn't cost a drive. You still have to parry high, low, etc. You can make it so that that's a groove. And then you have the other drive stance where the parry works as it currently does, where you recover drive for parrying regularly, and then perfect parry gives you like the punish and stuff. But you obviously don't get to do stuff like parry buffer, like the third strike parries would allow. Stuff like that would be so fun. Honestly, just straight up fun. I think that's the biggest thing that the game is missing that it could have. Just flat out entertainment with the evolution. They're too content of just leaving you to do the same basic stuff for however long, and I feel like they should just really move on with that. But yeah, I hope one day, like, I hope the changes we get are big. I hope they consider some of these things as far as like being bigger. You know, testing out the rank phases, testing out like drive grooves, testing out other character changes, like the making normals as plus as they are during drive, but bigger pushback to compensate, making it so that the walk speed is fast enough so that you can weave in and out in between the pushbacks of certain things to generate whiffs better. Because at the end of the day, Street Fighter 2 and CVS 2, like those and the alphas and stuff, they are very, very fun games of like jousting that is a lot more decision based than guess based. And Street Fighter 6, a lot of its jousting and stuff seems like it's made to be weaker in favor of forcing guesses. And that's just not fun. That's just not as fun. It's not as entertaining to me to just B+ and be like, I'm going to pick one of these options and you better pick the right version of the option I'm going to pick, or I'm going to explode you, or receiving that for that matter. And it could just be better. That was a nice little big old rant. Let me go ahead and stop this here so that I can keep that rant separate and make it an own video. And then I'm going to join this back after I go take a pee, and then we'll